So, in today's video, I want to have a talk about cyber claims and just fund recovery services in general. Now, I've recently been in contact with cyber claims. I contacted them through a link on Scam Detector. And if you click here and fill out this form on the Scam Detector website, your information will be passed on to cyber claims and they will contact you. So I just wanted to run through a recent phone call that I had with cyber claims, and I want to point out all of their lies and falsehoods that they spew in order to bolster their claims that they're going to recover your money.
Yeah, you were the guy who was emailing me. This was about the complaint you left with Scam Detector about James from PayPal.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So, look, Drew, here at Cyberclaims, what we are is we're a licensed private investigation firm. So we deal with all of Scam Detector clients directly.
Okay.
And what we do is we help people who have fallen victims to cryptocurrency scams and really any online scam go through the process of attempting to trace and recover their lost assets. What I also wanted to do, though, was I need to ask you 9 questions, Drew, to understand what's happened, because we can't help everyone.
Yep.
And so I need to find out more specifically what's happened to you and kind of what you've been involved in. And then based on what has happened, I'll determine if we can help. And then, of course, if we can, I'll run you through what we do, how we help, chances of success, all that sort of stuff.
What I told Scam Detector was that a PayPal impersonator who went by the name of James told me there was some fraudulent activities on my account and then required me to connect to a secure server. And then when my computer was updating, $40,000 was taken out of my account. Now, you'll hear in the call, I specifically told Cyberclaims that I handed over the one-time password, the OTP, sent from my bank, which was required to make these transfers. And I told that number to the scammers over the phone. So I've tried to make it quite clear that this scam was at the fault of the scammers and myself and not at the fault of the bank. The bank had in place their 2-factor authentication, and my slow response, because I've even told him that it took me a couple of days before I realized what happened. So my slow response was the reason why the bank could not return the money, because as my story goes, the bank says that the money was transferred to a Commonwealth account and that money was then withdrawn. And the police told me that this account was held by an Indian national and that Indian national is no longer in the country. So I want to be clear about that, what I've told Cyberclaims, because they're going to try and tell me that this is the bank's fault. And this is the one thing that I want to point out to everyone, is that depending on the situation, the banks actually do work hard to prevent these scams. And when Cyberclaims start saying that the banks are criminals because they're supporting these scammers, I want you to take notice of that. Yeah, it was people that said they were from PayPal and there was suspicious transactions on my account. Don't exactly understand really what happened, but they took money out of my bank account. And the bank said that they couldn't stop it because the money went to an overseas account.
Okay, so just a couple of questions here. So did you give them access to your mobile phone or your computer through AnyDesk, and then they jumped onto your devices and controlled took money out?
Yeah, that might have been it. Yeah, I'm still a bit, I'm really still a bit confused. But yeah, they must have got on my computer or something.
Oh, okay, so you didn't actually send the money yourself? Like you didn't log into your bank or PayPal or anything like that? You're saying that you got a phone call or something someday from someone claiming to be from PayPal, and somehow they were able to gain access to your bank account, like your actual bank account, and then send money from your bank overseas.
To download some software to connect to their server or something.
Yeah,
and then
that's AnyDesk or TeamViewer, that's what I meant.
And then I had to go in and check my bank account, and then my computer had to do some updates or something, or they're updating the security or something, but they're actually stealing my money.
Okay, got it.
So I don't know if that's something that you can help with. Or no, it's not a
it depends if we have proof of all the transactions. No, we deal in wire fraud. We do wire fraud all the time. It's wire fraud. Money's gone from your bank to an overseas bank. That's no problem. I'm just making some notes here. So you got a spam call from people claiming to be from PayPal, and the client downloaded AnyDesk / TeamViewer.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
Did you lose exactly 40,000 on the nose? Is that what they took out?
Yeah, there was 2 transactions, $20,000.
Okay, sent 2 transactions, $4.20 each. Now, so they sent it from like your bank, either so like Combank, ANZ, whatever it is, to an overseas bank. Is that correct?
They sent it from my bank to a Commonwealth bank, and then they said that the money from the Commonwealth bank was withdrawn and then sent it overseas. That's what I was told. But it took me a couple of days to realise what was happening, and so by the time I contacted the bank, yeah, they tried their best, they said, but I don't know. And I reported it to the police, obviously, and said that because the money was out of the account, yeah, it was probably gone overseas or something.
When did this take place? Like, was it January or February?
It was just before Christmas.
Okay, so that was December 23. Do you have any information, like any names, email addresses, phone numbers from when it all took place?
Like, I can look through my bank statements and, like, the transactions are on my bank statement. I don't really know. Like, it's a few months ago. I don't even know if, like I said, I don't even know if it's something that you can do anything for that or...
It is. Absolutely it is. Well, let me put it this way, Drew. The type of scam that you've been involved in is extremely common, right? It happens every day to people, right?
So he specifically said that this was a type of wire fraud and they are able to help. I'll repeat that. He didn't say they may be able to help. He said they are able to help.
I mean, unfortunately, there is terrible people in this world, Drew. And, you and I might not be those types of people, but there is plenty of terrible people in this world that will prey on the vulnerability of people. Right? You hear of, like, my grandmother, as an example. Right? She was scammed out of $46K. Right? She received a phone call claiming to be from the bank, saying that she needed to transfer money out urgently because someone was hacking into her account.
Yep.
And look, she's in her 80s, right? She's got dementia. She doesn't know any better, and she thought that it was really the bank.
Yeah.
So she gave them the one-time password that Westpac had sent her. Next thing you know, money's gone.
Yeah, well, that was
right.
Similar situation, I gave the number over the phone. I shouldn't have told him the number. It says don't tell anyone.
I mean, look, it's a mistake. That's it. It's a mistake. Yeah. It happens. It happens all the time.
All right, so right here, I just want to highlight that I told him I gave them the number. These text messages that say, don't give this number to anyone. And when I'm talking to scammers, I'm always quick to point this out. But it says, don't give it to anyone. Don't give that number to anyone. Unfortunate thing about it, if you give out your bank details to someone, that's not the bank's fault. Now, I'm not going to say it's your fault or it's the fault of the victim. It's always the fault of the scammer, because the scammer's the one that tricks these people into giving over this information. But if you do give over that information, if a scammer does trick you into handing over your password or these one-time passwords or one-time pins, that's not the bank's fault. I want to make sure that is crystal clear.
Now, unfortunately, obviously, we can't change what's happened, but we can focus on what we can do to actually help you get it back. And we definitely can help you back. And this is what we specialize in.
Okay.
The good thing in your case is that it was sent from your bank.
Yep.
Okay. The reason why this is a good thing is because the banks, when they agreed to operate as a financial institution, they agreed to abide by certain money laundering regulations. So I'm going to run you through basically what we can do to help. I'll also send you a summary email as well, but you definitely have a case and it is definitely something we can help with. And it's actually a good thing that it came from the banks. It's much harder if it's actually crypto. To be honest, crypto is a lot more difficult to recover than it is when funds are sent from banks.
All right, so I just wanted to stop it there and highlight the fact that this guy says crypto is harder to trace. And yet when I jump on their website, the first thing it says is, have you been a victim of crypto scams? We can help you trace and freeze your assets. And now he's saying that crypto is harder to trace than PayPal scammer from India stealing your money, withdrawing it in cash, and sending it overseas. Are you seeing the lies?
These financial institutions, they never want to take any accountability or at least appear liable for any type of criminal activity in the eyes of the law. And they don't do a good enough job of protecting the rights and the money of the people that actually use their services, right, or their exchanges or institutions. Now, when it comes to a scam, okay, liability falls onto any platform or bank that facilitates the movement of money after it's been received into the criminal account.
All right, I just wanted to highlight that. So any platform that receives money is liable.
Whether you lose funds via cryptocurrency or via a wire transfer, typically what happens is the money goes from your account to another account, okay? And then once it's received into that account, it's either split up into other accounts, right? If it's on the blockchain or if it's in a bank account, it may be sent to other bank accounts around the world, which is what happened in your case.
All right, I just wanted to stop that. And that's actually not what happened in my case. I specifically told him that it was withdrawn in cash from the Commonwealth Bank. But that's neither here nor there. Whether it was withdrawn in cash or sent to an overseas account, the fact that the Commonwealth Bank no longer has this money means that my bank can't request this money back. That's all that means. It doesn't mean the Commonwealth Bank is at fault here.
Any bank, credit card company, or cryptocurrency exchange that allows the criminals to use their platforms to launder money becomes legally liable for your losses.
All right, and once again, just because a criminal uses a particular bank to launder money, that does not make the bank liable. The bank, it needs to be proven the bank is either negligent or complicit for the bank to hold some liability.
The fact that it was sent from your bank to a Commonwealth bank is the best thing about the case. And the reason for that is because when we help clients recover the money, right, it's not directly from the scammers themselves, because these scammers are using fake names, they're using fake identities, everything about them is fake, right? And so they're often very difficult to find. They're in remote parts of the world, Nigeria, Pakistan, you name it, right?
So I thought that was interesting, because when I talk to scammers from India, they like to say they're from Pakistan and not India. Why did this scumbag mention Nigeria and Pakistan? Now, I don't know if Pakistan is actually well known for scams. And I'm sure that people from Pakistan don't like the fact when Indian scams are branded as Pakistani scams.
To get money back from criminals themselves,
I think the police said
difficult.
they're probably from India.
It doesn't matter where they're from. The reality is that to find and track these guys down is very difficult. And even if you were able to do so, even if they were prosecuted in criminal court and they were found guilty, still doesn't guarantee that you get any money back.
Yeah. Now, that's a very important thing that Cyberclaims actually mentioned here. Even if the scammer is caught, chances are that your actual money is recovered is slim to none, because that money's been laundered, it's been spent, it's been whatever. The money's gone. So the act of holding the banks liable is just a clever ploy, because, like I said, you need some serious evidence that the banks have either been complicit or negligent. In Australia, we have the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, and if you've been a victim of a scam and your bank account was involved, these guys will investigate to see if the bank was either negligent or complicit in the scam. And they'll do that for free. So you'll get no benefit from hiring an overseas private investigator. I struggle to see the benefit. Any problem with your financial institution in Australia, contact the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, 1-800-931-678.
Our primary aim over here, in terms of what we do, is to recover your money from the financial institutions that actually allowed the fraud to take place. All of the institutions that contributed to the laundering of that 40,000 can be held liable for the loss. Okay,
Right.
The reason for this is because that Commonwealth bank that received your money, and then the bank that it went to after that, right? They have an obligation by law to monitor, all the transactions that are going in and out of those accounts. They're meant to be making sure that there's no fraud taking place or that those accounts are being used for criminal activity.
Okay, so yes, that is true. The banks have an obligation to prevent fraud and to prevent money laundering on their platforms. That doesn't mean if someone's able to circumvent the bank's detection systems and commit fraud without the bank knowing, that does not mean the bank is liable.
When in the event that money gets sent to a criminal account, the institution that let that transaction go through and be received, and all of the institutions thereafter become liable for the losses, because in the eyes of the law, that Commonwealth Bank and the bank that it was sent to after that, they've helped the criminals commit fraud by allowing them to have accounts.
Did you get that? It's legal for the Commonwealth Bank or any other bank to allow people to have accounts, because these people, especially if my money stolen was the first money washed through this account, how would the bank know that this was a criminal account used for laundering money? How would the bank know? And I'll give you a spoiler alert. This guy's never going to say anything about how they're able to find out whether the bank is liable or not. The bank just is liable, and that's it.
They've helped the criminals commit fraud by allowing them to have accounts.
Okay.
Now, it's illegal for Commonwealth Bank to allow someone to use their bank to receive and launder stolen money, and it's illegal for them to let that money move to another bank as well, not only because it's illegal, right, because obviously they're helping criminals commit fraud, which is a crime,
Yeah.
but also they are violating anti-money laundering regulations and anti-terrorist financing regulations that Commonwealth Bank and other institutions are legally required to comply with by law.
So I don't know about you, but that made no sense. If we break down what he just said, he said it's illegal for banks to allow this to happen, not only because it's illegal, but because they're helping criminals. Now, I don't know about you, but some people might think that banks are kind of criminals on their own. But that's not what he's saying. The banks are helping criminals.
If Commonwealth Bank did not allow that account to exist in the first place, you would not have lost your money.
Therefore, the Commonwealth Bank is at fault. If the Commonwealth Bank did not allow that account to exist, I would still have my money. Does that not follow to the logical conclusion that it's the Commonwealth Bank's fault? Now, I can understand how a scam victim would fall for this. I can understand how a scam victim would be clutching at straws. And I can understand how a scam victim would feel like the bank and even the police have failed them. But the police can only do what they can do. And the banks can only do what they can do. And I don't know about you, but every person I've spoken to involved in any financial institute, they don't want their customers to be scam victims. They don't. The banks are trying to prevent this from happening. The banks aren't just allowing this willy-nilly. Every scammer can open a bank with us. That's not how it works.
What we aim to do is we aim to recover your money directly from the financial institutions that allowed the fraud to take place in the first place. So in other words, in your particular situation, we would be aiming to recover the money directly from Commonwealth that money went to, and also potentially the bank that it was sent to after. So if it was actually in fact overseas, we will be aiming to recover it from the bank that it went to overseas.
Yeah.
And the goal of our service here is to prove that you were manipulated by a criminal entity, and to prove that the financial institutions in question, being Commonwealth Bank and the bank that it went to overseas, allowed the fraudulent transactions to take place. And because they helped the fraudulent transactions take place, in the eyes of the law, they've helped the criminals commit fraud, which is illegal, and that's why they're liable for losses.
So let me just repeat that. In my case, because I was being manipulated by a criminal and money was sent from my account to a Commonwealth account, that's the Commonwealth's fault, and they owe me my money back. Now I ask you, in what world does that logic make sense? So I spoke to this Muppet for about 30 minutes. I'm not going to include the whole call, and I don't want to include anything that might jeopardize my communications with them, because I am still in communications with them. But as it stands so far, Is that not enough evidence to say at the very least they are involved in false advertising? At the very least. Now, as it stands, I have no evidence that these guys are going to sell my information. He did say that for their service, they would require an upfront fee of around about $2,000. He did say he would like more evidence from me, bank statements with these transactions, the account numbers that the money went to. And he did say that without looking further, he can't guarantee a result. But then he also said this.
So we'll take you on as a private client, and we will engage in a legal financial dispute between you and Commonwealth Bank and the bank overseas for the amount that was taken out of your account. And we aim to recover that money back through a legal dispute. Okay? This strategy really, really works. And we've handled through more than 1,000 cases to date as an organization, split between the crypto side and the wire fraud side.
This strategy really, really works.
The chances of getting money back through a wire fraud case is actually a lot higher than getting it back through a crypto exchange, because it's very black and white when you deal with the banks.
The chances of getting your money back is higher than a cryptocurrency case. Even though on their website they advertise all over, have you been a victim of crypto scams? We can help you trace and freeze your assets. But this is easier.
What the process looks like is first, in an investigation, we would contact Commonwealth Bank and we would say, hey, Commonwealth Bank, this is what's occurred. Here is the proof of the fraud taking place. We would obviously launch an initial investigation. We would, and the first step would be to trace the funds, to Commonwealth. So we would be contacting Commonwealth directly. And what we would be doing is, with the cooperation of law enforcement, is we would be getting Commonwealth Bank to provide information about the account owners, so KYC data.
So with the cooperation of law enforcement, this Dutch company is going to be able to circumvent. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've ever tried to ring up a bank and ask information about someone else's account, they ain't gonna give you nothing. It's just lie after lie. And it frustrates me, because unless, like I did, you record the conversation and play it back and pick it apart sentence by sentence, he rattles it off fairly convincingly. Oh yeah, no, this is a normal thing. Banks are held liable, anti-money laundering. Of course, the banks aren't allowed to let people launder money. But that's the key thing that he glosses over, is did the banks allow this to happen? And if you, like I said, let someone onto your computer, let them onto your bank account and hand over the one-time PIN, one-time password, that's not the bank's fault. I'm sorry to say, that's not the bank's fault. If you have any dispute with your financial provider, talk to AFCA. Don't talk to some overseas recovery agent, because they will lie through their teeth, request an upfront payment for a service they cannot guarantee, and if you don't go through with it, they'll sell your information off to scammers and you'll receive scam calls for the rest of your life. So I think that'll do it for this video. I hope you found it useful. Thank you all for your wonderful support. And remember, these overseas recovery agents, as far as I can tell, there is nothing legitimate about any of them.